So, what's your dog doing there?
Stupid questions, Josh.
So, BRICS, man. BRICS. What does BRICS stand for again?
heavy, heavy orange object.
BRICS? No.
No, it's the only bricks I know.
No, the alliance, man.
Oh, I thought you were talking about bricks.
No.
Talk to me, Josh.
No, fuck this. They shouldn't be dependent on the USA. Like, a lot of countries are coming out now in the world saying this shit.
Saying what? That they don't want their debt to be denominated in U.S. dollars?
Yeah, pretty much.
Why?
I don't know. I think they no longer want to. I think they're trying in a way to like get rid of the USA as the reserve currency. So
Think there's a good point to it? Like, is there any merit in that argument?
well,
Should they?
no, I don't. As an American, no, man, because the whole point about it is that like the more you travel, you realize that the power of the dollar, right? And so if they do get rid of the dollar as the reserve currency, what's going to end up happening is that we're going to have to convert it to a different currency, whatever the new reserve currency is, right? So what the fuck, like I don't want to do that shit.
So why are you so attached to America being the reserve currency for?
Because I'm American and I think I believe that we should be on top when it comes to currency or the economy.
Delve into that. Think about it further, because I'm not. It's not a gotcha, but it's more so like if you're gonna have a strong opinion, you should be able to speak to it. Do I think that there's a good point? Probably. There's probably a good justification for going to for getting off the U.S. in terms of reserve currency, but I'm not sure it's an entirely obvious like opinion to have. Most people don't really think about it, but
Yeah,
between you and
because
me, we
most
could
people
probably figure it out.
travel, but like I think it just benefits us, man. Overall, around the world, it just makes life easier. It gives us more, leverage. Like for example, if you're trying to like buy properties in another country, um, it makes it easier for the transaction to go through. So
So think a little bit more like broadly though. So you're saying that for the world, it's probably better that the majority of everybody else's debt is denominated in US dollars. There's probably good arguments to having that, but you're saying that we should probably move away from that. There has to be good.
no, I'm saying that we shouldn't.
Right, you're saying that we shouldn't.
Yeah,
Countries like France and otherwise are saying otherwise.
yeah.
That sounded funny. Might have to clip that. But we might have to clip that whole conversation because you didn't
Yeah, I
sound
think so. Yeah,
confident.
yeah.
But think about that. Why do you think it's a bad idea to get off of the US dollar as the reserve currency?
Well, in a way, it stimulates our economy too because other people are utilizing our dollar, right? And the more other countries use our dollar, the more, I guess it would lessen inflation as well if you think about it, right?
I'm not sure how.
So the more dollars you have in circulation, right, the higher inflation is, right? The more we have the dollar, the less value the dollar has, and well, the higher.
It's more so about like how that dollar is created. If it's created as as a form of like, or not as a form, but as a byproduct of like inflationary policy, then yeah, inflation. But All right, so you're maybe pointing towards something like the more US dollars that are in circulation, the stronger the US dollar is in comparison to other dollars.
Well, circulation in the world, not just in the
So,
U.S.
like the velocity of money, like how many times it's actually changing hands, not necessarily the amount of money, but how often it's actually being used to conduct business
Business. Yeah,
across the world.
yeah,
So, the more of that exists, the more valuable, the stronger the economy that's based off of the US dollar is.
yes, and also it also makes it easier for us to conduct business abroad, internationally. So
What you're saying as an American?
as an American, yes.
So, that same, I guess you could argue that the same benefit applies to other countries who want to base their debt in US dollars. In other words, they want to do business and they need to borrow US dollars in order to do so. But
Yeah,
because they're doing business in US dollars, it lends more credibility to the business. It probably, again, further strengthens the US dollar in comparison to other ways of financing deals that are backed in some other funny money. Just adds more legitimacy to your business if it's denominated in US dollars. Is that something that you would say?
yeah, yeah, that's correct.
Oh, that's correct. That's funny.
But yeah, man. Another thing, I was looking at the current like interest rates and what's going on in the real estate market, and I've seen like the housing market kind of like slowly cool down, I guess, and the prices are actually going down too. So I think that in the next 2 years, the prices are probably going to like steadily go down. Rates probably will stay like borderline, like I think 5.9% to 6.5% in the next 2 years. I think that if it goes anywhere below 5.5%, then I think it's a good time
It's
to
what?
the mortgage rates.
To what? To buy?
Yeah, to buy. I mean, to be honest, if you find a good deal, right? If you find a price that makes sense, you buy a house that's really really that you could actually like make profit off of it, then go ahead. But like, I think it's gonna be like easier in the next 2 years to like find more deals.
You think it's better to wait and try to time the market, or you think the best time is like now?
No, I think you should always just look for a deal, but not like pull the trigger unless you find a deal, right? Um, but if the interest rates do go below 5.5%, I should be clear about that. Mortgage rates, not the federal rates, because people sometimes confuse both. Um,
What's the difference between the fund rate and like
so the federal rate is basically the rate at which you borrow or national banks borrow their money, right? So like J.P. Morgan and all these other big banks borrow money from the Federal Reserve at a certain interest rate. So obviously, the higher that rate is, it usually trickles down to the consumer, which is me
in
and you.
other words, like the cost gets absorbed by the consumer?
Correct. Yeah. So, but it's weird because sometimes it's kind of the mortgage rates are kind of weird because sometimes like Jerome would like announce, hey, the rates have gone high. The federal rate just jumped 0.25, and somehow the mortgage rates dropped for like the first few days of that announcement, and then it eventually goes up. So I'm not sure how that works. I'm not sure what formulas they use, or I'm not sure what makes that happen. But what usually happens is that eventually, if the federal rates go up, so does the mortgage rates.
Because all the parties in between where like the money's actually getting issued as a form of debt, and from there all the way down to you as the buyer of a house, that cost of borrowing that money compounds. So in order for JP Morgan Chase to borrow that money, they're paying the federal fund rate, which I don't know what it is right now. Four
Yeah, I'm not
something,
sure.
five,
I haven't checked. I think it was like 6 point something for
six.
like 30 year.
Okay, call it six. Call it five. just for the sake of argument, just understand, like, all right, so they have to make their money at, 5% the fund rate,
Yeah,
or the fund rate. So whatever JP Morgan is then leveraging that money for, they also have to make their money on top. So they're going to add another rate on top of whatever it is that they're giving you in order for them to make money so that they can also pay back that fund rate.
yeah, that's correct. And the crazy thing is that the actually mortgages for FHA, they actually announced this. They're gonna do 40-year mortgages now, which is freaking insane.
So
And
they're structuring the debt longer term to kick
to lower the interest rate.
to lower the interest rate.
Yeah, and to
So
also
they hook you for a little
lower the
bit
payment.
longer in exchange you get a lower interest rate.
Yeah. So I don't know how that's gonna work. 40 years is a very, very long time, and of course, some people don't care because the way they think is like we're just kicking the debt further and further down the line.
Well, it
Um,
kind of like stratifies the risk, like
yeah,
horizontally. You're kicking the bucket a little bit longer. It's more time to restructure it, more time to consolidate, recycle, and that debt stays in the system longer. That money keeps on coming in if you're a
yeah,
debtor,
pretty
or
much.
not a debtor, but a creditor. But anyways, back to the point. So it's just important to highlight that correlation between, well, when the fund rate goes up, so do mortgage rates. They go up that way as well. They're directly correlated
That's correct.
because everybody's got to make money.
Yep.
So for that reason, I don't know. I'd probably say there's never a good time. The best time to always invest is now.
Yeah. Now. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, you can always refinance in the future or whatever, but you can never count on what's actually going to
Yeah.
happen tomorrow.
You can't always like find a good deal, and if you do find a good deal and it makes sense, and the only thing holding you back is a high interest rate, then I think like you should pull the trigger and go for it. Because like you mentioned, the interest rate fluctuates, it changes, and you can always like refinance out of that loan and lock down the most current mortgage rates.
But at the end of the day, it's just another factor of is just another it's just another variable in the calculus of trying to find a good deal,
Yeah.
right? So you shouldn't never, like, put it this way, your deal shouldn't depend upon you having a phenomenal interest rate. It should still be profitable whether the interest rate is high or low. Granted, within a certain range, but you want to still make sure that the property's cash flowing. You want a bunch of other guarantees. You're looking at other indicators in order to make sure that this is a profitable deal, as opposed to just evaluating it based off of, oh, well, interest rates are low, so now's a good time for me to buy a house. Like, you should still be looking for the best deal available, and that interest rate should kind of matter a little bit less in
Yeah.
terms of like the total calculus of like trying to find a good deal.
Yeah.
What indicators do you look for whenever you're looking at a property? Other than
So
interest rates.
what?
Other than interest rates, because that has to do more so with time. But if
Oh,
there's anything that you
obviously I look at the how much they're selling the house for. If the house needs to be fixed, how much is a rehab going to cost? I have to also look at the comps, right? Look around and see what the properties are being sold for. If I see that the property is well undervalued, and after rehabbing, the property, um, if there's any equity left in there, then I would definitely go for that deal.
so what's equity in the case of like a real estate deal? Like,
And so equity is the amount of stake you have in or I should say ownership of the asset itself. If you own it, right? How much equity you have in it.
so it's
Um,
how much it's worth
Sorry, how
minus.
much value?
All right, okay.
I use so many terminologies in that sentence that it makes sense, but in different phases of buying it, right? Because you're equity, you don't really have equity until you buy it, right? But there's still equity in there if you're
Potential. It's like potential energy.
potential energy. I guess so, yeah. But yeah, so we look at that, right? We look at how much it's going to cost to fix the property. Also, if you're going to keep the property, you have to look at how much it's going for? Like, are you going to rent the property out? How much of the rent is going for? Is it worth it? Is there enough cash flow from the rent coming in after all the bills are paid, right? Is it enough for the mortgage? Because sometimes you buy a property. I shouldn't say sometimes, 'cause I never have done this shit. But I'm pretty sure there's people out there that they just buy a property, they overpay for it. The rents make no sense, and so what ends up happening is that instead of like the tenants paying for your mortgage, you take out money from your pocket and you pay for the rent.
And cash
And
flow and
and
negative. You're out
yeah,
here getting robbed.
yep,
Damn. So that asset becomes a liability real quick.
correct, yep.
So interest rates are high. You're looking at certain indicators in order to identify a good deal. What's a good? What do you think's a good exit strategy for this kind of situation? So you go and let's say, all right, fine, I'm going to buy a house and the interest rate is through the roof. It's 5%.
Yeah.
Are you looking? I'm assuming you're not looking for a burr method. You know, you're
So,
not
so
going to
what? So
refinance it.
wait, what are you trying to say? Like you already bought the property and you're trying to exit out of the deal now? Like you're already in the
Sure.
deal. You already closing the property. It's yours. Now you figure out that, oh my gosh, this was a bad deal. How do I get out of it?
Not even. I mean, you could look at it different ways. Sure, that way, or you could look at it from somebody who's, hey, like you don't get to choose the market. You got the money now. You know, you got the credit score. You checked all your boxes. You're ready to pull the trigger, and you want to get into it now. But given the current circumstances, you're not entirely sure what a good exit strategy would be if you were trying to invest in real estate. Because maybe for the past 10 years, interest rates were so low that the primary mode of making money in real estate was through, investing in properties that needed some kind of rehab or that you can squeeze some extra equity out of in order to make a buck. Those options are no longer available to you just because the
Mm,
cost of capital has increased by
yeah. I mean, so
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 much
there's
money. So now they need to find a new way of extracting value out of that
yeah.
house.
So there's many ways that you can make money in real estate. Um, I personally don't do this, and I think it's a waste of time. But that's because I'm in a different situation in a different time in my life. But wholesaling, right? If you're low in cash, you can always do wholesaling. So if you do find a deal, right, and you see that you know someone that might want to like buy that property, you could actually uh, put your name on that contract, and you can actually sell that contract to someone that actually wants to buy the property, and then you get a cut from it. So you would obviously charge the buyer a little bit more on top of the actual purchase price, right, to get some money out of that deal. That's one way you could do an exit strategy, right?
Well, what would you say is the primary benefit of using that strategy?
Wholesaling, you're just building cash at that point, right? Because you're just looking for deals and selling it to buyers, and
I'd add to that
and you're helping the seller too. So
in the case of like the high interest rates, I'd add a benefit being that, or I guess I don't know. Let's think that out. But does the relative interest rate matter in terms of how much you profit using a wholesaling strategy? I would venture to say no.
oh, you're
It's
trying to
just
say for the
getting
buyer,
converted to the
buyer,
cost. What?
for the buyer,
For the investor.
yeah, for the
So
investor, for
yeah,
the buyer.
for the buyer.
So you're saying like, would that affect it? Would that affect it?
Like, let's say the same deal. Let's say we come across a property. It's a really good deal by our criteria. Maybe it hit the right indicators.
Okay.
And then the only variable that we're changing here is the interest rate. Would I still make money if the interest rates were low versus when the interest rates are high? Is it?
Yeah, yeah. You have to make sure. Again, like as an investor, what are you going to do with that property? Are you going to flip? That's
No,
another
I'm
thing.
saying with wholesaling.
Oh, as the wholesaler. So as a wholesaler, all you really do at that point is that you sold that deal, that contract to someone else. Now it's their problem. Well, technically, it's not their problem because you have to wait for them to actually close on the deal. Once it's closed, the money's dispersed, right? And that's when the wholesaler gets paid. But at that point, they're no longer looking at the interest rate. That's up to the actual buyer, the investor. But as the wholesaler, as the middleman, his job is to find a good deal where he can make money and also the buyer can make money in a way. But the buyer has to like evaluate the deal. You know what I mean?
Right.
At that point, the person that's looking at the interest rate would be the actual person that's going to take the loan, right? Which would be the investor, the buyer, not the wholesaler. The wholesaler would just,
They're
get
just putting
paid,
the deal together.
yeah, a percentage out of that, the purchase price.
So as far as the interest rate is concerned, it only matters insofar as there's still a buyer willing to buy in that market. So if interest rates are 5%, but you still identified a good deal that would be attractive to, a third party purchaser
Yeah,
to come and take that, property off of your hands, then you could still make money. Um, but generally speaking, what number that interest rate is doesn't factor into how much money you're making off of that deal. It just kind of determines how many people are going to be willing to look at that deal.
correct. And then that basically that interest rate is basically what's going to determine the mortgage, right? How much mortgage is going to be. So it really doesn't affect the wholesaler at all. The wholesaler just gets his payment and moves on. Meanwhile, the buyer, the investor, is left with the mortgage, which includes the principal that he has to pay off and the interest that's based off of the rate that he got it, the loan from the bank. So it's a safe way of to make money in real estate, I guess. Yeah.
And I would say, like, even right now, where like interest rates are kind of, high for what they were over the past decade, obviously, 10-year
Yeah.
high
So
for.
a lot of realtors are actually moving away from actually working for like a real estate broker and selling a property. What they're doing now is just wholesaling, and they're also like moving towards the rental market as well. So they're doing, instead of doing like showings to sell a house, they're doing showings for rentals.
So there's a large supply, big,
No, no. So
or
there's
it's just
there's
not moving.
yeah, there's actually a low supply in rentals and a low supply in selling houses, but I think there's more of a demand for rentals versus buying houses. You get me? So right now, that's what I've seen. A lot of realtors are transitioning over to doing that. And I know I mentioned this earlier in this conversation about flipping, right? So that's another way you can make money as well, flipping. So flipping and wholesaling, I think, are strategies that help you accumulate cash to buy an actual investment property.
But you're just it's going to be smaller bites, more frequent, but you can move your money a
Yeah,
lot faster. You could do a whole lot more deals if you're just doing, at least with the wholesaling, you could do multiple deals. They're not going to be big deals, especially when the interest rates are high. But you can still take advantage of the fact that there's going to be a lot of deals that you can broker. So if you have money now and you're still trying to get into the game, but you don't want to do some of the other strategies, that might be a good one.
yeah, but wholesaling, you don't even need money to start.
Right.
Like,
It's just low
but
risk, I mean.
yeah, for flipping property, you actually have to have some sort of cash. Even if you go to a hard money lender, a hard money lender is not going to give you any money if you have no experience. So if you have no experience at all, you have to basically either go to a bank and show them, hey, I'm buying this property with a rehabilitation loan, and I have the credit score, I have the funds for the down payment. Give me the loan. Versus if they go to a hard money lender, usually they want to have like they want to make sure that they're giving you the money, but you have some sort of portfolio or some sort of experience where you've already flipped a certain amount of properties. If not, they're not going to give you money unless somehow you have such a strong relationship with the hard money lender. That could happen, but I think that's really rare. Or maybe you basically have to, if you have no experience in real estate, you have to have some sort of asset that you could put up. You know what I mean? Maybe you have a boat. I don't know. Maybe you have a jet. Maybe you have no experience in real estate, but you have a boat and a jet, and you're like, I'm gonna put up my boat as as collateral. But at that point, for you to acquire a boat, you probably have other things going on, right? You probably have stocks. You have some sort of cash flow or some sort of business that's allowing you to buy those liabilities, right? But then again, a boat could be could be an asset because you can always like rent it out, jet as well.
Yeah, you can run a business
But that's
out
a
of it.
whole different like different game. But back to real estate, yeah. When you're flipping properties, you have to have cash. You have to have some amount of cash. You have to be able to evaluate a deal, underwrite a deal. You have to be able to know how much material costs. You have to have a contractor that you trust as well. Like you mentioned, there is a it's time sensitive, right? So the longer it takes for you to like fix the property, the more you're paying on that loan, and you're losing money basically. So you want to make sure you're able to fix the property, put it on the market, get it sold, get your money, and then just continue doing that over and over again until eventually, from what I've seen, you start buying assets and keeping them and renting them out and actually becoming a investor, and eventually, after that, you become a developer, and yeah, you
That's
move
a
on
good.
from.
So damn, but like flipping right now is kind of hard, wouldn't you think? High interest
Yeah,
rate.
hell yeah, yeah. It's very hard right now because damn, it's I mean it's hard now with anything, even when it comes to contractors. From what I've seen, contractors can't even find jobs right now because there's no one really flipping houses like that now. And the reason behind that is because homes are overvalued, right? Even homes that need to, there's homes out there that are like not even worth rehabbing. Like you would have to like knock them down, but they're being sold at such a high price that it makes no sense to even buy the property.
Too much
So
pressure. All right. Yeah. No. It's just gotta deflate at some point.
yeah, so that affects everything, man. It's a huge market. It's a huge job market too because it affects several things, right? It affects the contractor, which affects, you know, at the end of the day, plumbers, electricians, and then trickles down to Home Depot, right? Because if no one's really buying homes or building homes, then Home Depot's losing money too, right? So it's just affecting a lot of different trades.
Well, I also imagine it affects different parts of like the real estate sector. You know, I imagine that same problem with, or maybe to some extent, it might be correlated, but commercial properties are probably also overvalued, are also probably in a situation where they need to get renovated, and nobody wants to pay the property taxes. Nobody wants to pay for any of that, and they should probably get torn down. And so there's a big supply of them, but like there's no demand to buy it.
Yeah. So that I mean, if you're not paying taxes on properties that are abandoned or properties that are city owned and stuff, like yeah, the city's losing money, the state's losing money, like it affects everyone. Um,
That's a big fucking
but
problem.
yeah, yep. But I think from what I've seen now, people that actually are in that they're stuck with a property and the taxes are high and they're like, especially when it comes to luxury real estate. From what I've seen, there's a lot of celebrities out there that are actually selling their properties on a discount. So in times of like where regular, I wouldn't even say regular, like residential and commercial real estate is struggling, there could be an opportunity for you to look at luxury real estate. And the thing about luxury real estate is that if you're able to, I mean, buy, luxury real estate where there was someone important, I shouldn't even say important, like a celebrity, someone famous, that used to live there, like later on in the future, you could sell that at a higher price. And when it comes to luxury real estate, it's a whole different game because it's like you're making millions within years, right? Um, so like you can look at it this way: you could buy like three properties that are just like two family, and they would be worth, let's just say, each one 300,000. And then like let's just say 5 years later, you sell that property for $400,000 each, right? So you make $100,000 profit on those three properties. So you make $300,000 profit, right? Versus buying one huge luxury estate, right? That's like, I don't know, somewhere in a nice area that's desired by a lot of people. Within those 5 years, you can make millions of dollars in profit. So it's a whole different game. and it's a lot of high maintenance too, right? Because most of these properties have a lot of land, so there's landscaping, the upkeep, and all that stuff. But
So
yeah,
telling
man.
me
So
that there's there's a bunch of celebrities trying to sell their vacation homes. So just second home and vacation home market is starting to open up. People
yeah,
take
and
their
I
shit
think
off
the
the
reason,
market. Everybody's trying to sell and get out of it.
yeah, I think the reason that's happening too is because what's going to end up happening, with what we've seen with big tech, right? It's freaking insane, man. So what we've seen with big tech is that they're laying off people, right? And so the celebrities, I'm pretty sure, or not even celebrities, just business people in general, right? That have maybe a whole bunch of like assets that aren't really generating. They don't even. I mean, a luxury apartment or like a luxury mansion could be considered an asset, right? Because it's gaining value, but it's really not generating you money unless you're renting it out. That's another thing. But what they're doing now is that they're trying to like become cash heavy. So that way, when they do announce the recession eventually, if they ever do, and things start crashing, right, they're able to actually buy businesses. Because at the end of the day, on top of everything, on top of real estate, on top of crypto, on top of stocks, but then again, stocks is having ownership of a company. So it's another way you can own a company in a way. But to bring it back down to the business, like if you're able to buy businesses on a discount, that's when you're actually able to make a lot of money, a lot of profit. And so all these big tech giants are laying off people. I'm pretty sure, and a lot of them are cash heavy, and they could survive, and they're able to pay their employees. I'm guessing what they're going to do is that they're going to absorb a lot of these, startups and companies that are like going out of business. And I'm pretty sure a lot of business people as well, and people on Wall Street probably are looking at this as well and targeting businesses that they know they're low on cash and they're not going to be able to pay their employees in the next few weeks. And so that's when they come in, right, and start negotiating prices. So, I mean, we've seen this with banks, banks running out of money because people are doing bank runs and, people are getting scared. And so what ends up happening is another bank just comes in and just buys them off.
M&A activity through the roof.
Yeah. So, yeah, to all our viewers, I think the goal should be to be able to buy businesses eventually. I think that's the best wealth someone could have because not only are you generating money, you're providing a service, and it's something that you could also like pass down to your family as generational wealth. And you could also evolve, right? You could evolve as well.
Yeah, I mean, if right now you're like targeting small businesses, so you're trying to buy like one of the things I want to do this year is buy my first small business. Um, Trying to get out of the rat race. Um, and so for me, I'm looking at like, all right, should I go and take my shillings that I've been saving and put it into a house, knowing that the interest rates are preventing me from accessing certain strategies in order to make some money? Would I be better off partnering up with other people of means, or maybe, you know, just partnering up with a team, um, and pooling our shillings together and buying a business? Given that these are going to be, some economic tough times coming up, whether they call it a recession or not, um, there's probably going to be a lot of businesses that are up for grabs that are also in the small business category that you could probably squeeze some equity out of. Oh, maybe they're running into cash issues. Well, maybe you just teamed up with a bunch of people that have cash. You know what I mean? Maybe you can float a payroll for the next 6 months. Maybe you can leverage that into some runway for you to actually try some new things, fix some broken processes, and make a dollar. And if you can make a business that's struggling now profitable, then imagine once the interest rates, the entire economic landscape changes and improves over time, because eventually it will. And you also have a thriving business that kind of made it when times are tough. That's a recipe for a successful business that you can either then flip, take that same business that you bought and sell it for considerable a lot more. You buy a $250,000 business, spend some time, energy, and money, grow it to $1 million business, throw a multiple on top of that, put it back on the market, 4 or 5 years from now, and you kind of, you make $1 million real quick.
Yeah. It's just like it's just exponential growth and like from what I've seen, it's like there's different ways for you to like increase your money. You could do it the slow way, but like it seems that the best way to do it is like what you just said right now, just buying a actual business.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean the strategy is the same, right? Find an undervalued asset,
yeah,
find ways to squeeze $1 out of it, put it back on the market, cash out.
yeah,
That's still a strategy that's on the table.
yeah. But
It's
you have
just
to
the
also like
vehicles that you're looking at
rehab
are
it as
different.
well, right? Rehab the business, make it
Yeah,
clean and better.
it's probably not something that I would advise like a beginner. Like if you've never owned a business, your
Yeah,
first business shouldn't be a rehab in the same way. Like if you've never owned a house, then your first house probably shouldn't be a full gut rehab.
yeah, that's correct.
And
Yep.
shit, I've made that mistake, but you know, also learning, you learn a lot, but there's less expensive ways to make or to learn some valuable lessons in business and for you to still make money. Business, make it successful, make some pretty good money and continue on that, or you can cash out, rehab the business, cash out, take your money, buy a bigger business or buy multiple.
Bro, the Trump indictment, dude. So you've seen what's been going on this entire week. It's freaking insane,
Bro,
man.
they got your boy behind bars. It's a wrap.
What you mean, my boy, man? They got your boy.
It's your man's. It's all right,
No,
man.
they got our boy, bro. They got our boy. But anyway,
Free
yeah,
Trump.
man, it's freaking insane.
Let them know.
Yeah,
Josh, tell the people. Tell the people what they need to
yo,
hear.
free my boy Trump, bro. But anyway, yeah, dude. So can he run for if he actually gets locked up and is convicted? Can he still run to become the president of the United States of America?
I imagine. I don't see an issue with him running. You can still write him in even if he wasn't on the ballot.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Enough people write
So
him
it's
in.
crazy how.
Imagine he gets elected from jail. That'd be wild.
Yeah, that would be
I mean, that's
wild.
presupposing a
My
whole
question
lot of
is,
shit, but supposing you got a conviction that he actually had to serve time for and gets
yeah,
elected,
no, I'm thinking like, okay, if he gets elected to be the president, like, how does he take himself out of jail, or does he have to actually like do his time, and then once he comes out, he becomes the president, and I guess would it be the VP?
it would definitely be complicated. Yeah, I imagine the VP.
And how would the debates be? Would debates be through Zoom, like
Well,
through a
the
Zoom
debates don't really
session?
matter. That's just the
No, but like
TV.
you know what I mean. Yeah, I know,
You
but
could have it
since
through
he would
Zoom.
be in jail,
You could do it through Skype.
yeah, through Zoom
He
or
could
through
he would
River
literally
FM.
just hop in and just say everyone's wrong. That's it. That's it. You just go back to like, all right, whatever y'all
Everyone's
were talking
wrong.
about. Goes back to playing, Flappy Birds or whatever prisoners do.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Hop in, no name call, promise us some shit.
So this the charges that are being brought upon him, right? The hush money that was paid, was this prior to him running for presidency, or like when did this
When did what
happen?
happen?
The hush money that was paid for the porn star.
So when she got paid?
Yeah. Was this during his
No, it was before the
presidency?
presidency. It was leading up to it.
Oh,
He paid her
okay.
to shut up. Who wouldn't? That's pretty normal.
So yeah, so
Question is whether
that's
you
like
could
his
tie it
first.
to it being a campaign, like finance.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So probably used hush money from his campaign
Yeah,
to.
it's an
Okay, yeah,
accounting
I see.
issue where saying, "Hey, I spent X amount of money on legal fees," when in reality, what you did was ask your lawyer to pay some hush money to somebody so that they wouldn't tank your chances of becoming president, which didn't end up working anyway. But
Yeah. Sheesh.
The question is, how do you convert that into a felony? Because right now that's a misdemeanor. It's 34 counts of a misdemeanor, right? 34 were the counts.
I think so.
Yikes. 34 misdemeanors. But the shit is, how do you convert that into a felony? How do you prove to a court? I mean, it's outside of their jurisdiction, I'm pretty sure, but all right, this was in. I guess the way that they do that, they like is they have to prove that it was done in concert with covering up another crime, right? And then that's how they could justify it as being a felony charge.
Isn't there another charge he's being charged with other than the hush money?
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I don't know. But yeah, it's just pretty wild that how he can, he's still going to be able to run for presidency even though he's currently, being charged for all these, well, being charged for the hush money stuff. But I think that's a beautiful thing about America, though, man. How like it's you're still able to like become the president somehow, even though like there's opposition
You
against
can
you. You know
grab
what I
him by the
mean?
pussy and still become president.
Grab the
Yeah, I feel you. That's it. We live in a wild, wild world. Live in a wild country. But yeah, same person could potentially go to jail and still win and be president. That's wild.
Yeah, that is wild. So, how about the governor of Florida,
Yeah, DeSantis. DeSantis.
DeSantos? I heard
What's
he,
up with you?
I heard he's
You never heard of
what?
DeSantis? DeSantos? Who's DeSantis?
Sorry, DeSantis. Yeah, yeah, but
En su casa lo
I
conocen.
heard he's run. I heard he's running for the presidency.
Oh yeah, he sent you a text. Let you know.
No, I think just a lot of people are betting on him running.
I don't
So
know, man. It seems like whoever's popular this early in the race tends to be the person that gets picked on the most and ends up being the first person to drop out. I
yeah,
think it's in the
that,
Democrats' best
that was
interest
Trump at
to
one point.
let this whole thing with Trump play out. And even if he doesn't get convicted, just the fact that they brought charges against him keeps him in the limelight. And as long as he's in the limelight, he's going to beat out all the relevant good competition on the Republican side because he's going to suck
Oh
up all
wow,
the oxygen in the room. And then if there's any Republicans that actually stand a chance at winning in a prime or in a general election, he's going to swallow all the potential spotlight. They get no press. He gets the nomination because towards the end, the Republicans are going to be like, well, nobody else is going to be able to compete against Joe. And then
yeah,
Joe
that's another
comes
thing. Do
through.
you think Joe's gonna actually? Do you think Joe will actually be the Democratic?
Who else they got? Who else is it going to be? Yep.
Hillary
No, no.
or Kamala?
People hate her now.
Yeah,
She's
that's
not doing a
true.
good job as it is. Think people are really going to be like, yeah, 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 let's pick her? Probably not. They'll take Sleepy Joe, which I would too if I was a Democrat. He's the incumbent president. We're about to go to war. Whether you think he's done a good job or
Yeah,
not,
so
still want to keep
I
him
heard
around.
that the clock, the World War III clock, is like right there at like the. I think they have like a. I think the it was like was it 11:59 or something?
Or
Like there's like a doomsday clock or something for like World War III and stuff. It's like right there. It's like right at the point of breaking.
well, it won't. You got to think positive. But
Hope so.
yeah, I don't think Biden has much competition on the Democratic side. So it would make sense to just rerun the same play as 2020 and make it a conversation between Biden and Trump. Biden will win out in the electoral college, get the majority of the fucking votes, and win. And that's how he gets his second term, even if he is too old. And then the only thing he has to defeat then is just Father Time breathing down his throat. But I mean, I wish the president of
Wow.
the United States all the good health in the world, but time is the number one enemy. She's gonna get us all.
Yep.
But if I were a Democrat right now, I'd be like, nah, all eyes on Trump. All eyes on Trump. And
Hey,
if you make any kind of sense, we'll just spend money towards the Trump campaign to have him swallow you. Like, you don't have to defeat him. You get your enemy to defeat them for you.
do you think the economy was better off with Trump in office?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it's really comparable. Um,
Mm. Do you think like the rest of the world sees us weak with Joe Biden as our president right now?
I mean, it's probably not just Joe Biden. I mean, and especially not from like a policy like standpoint. I mean, he's pretty much just kind of codified whatever Trump really wanted, but never got anything done. And he's basically gone down that same road, you know, foreign diplomacy wise. So if people undermine us now, it's more so because of decisions that we've made geopolitically, I would imagine. We might have looked real soft pulling out of Afghanistan. We might look real soft right now backing a losing party in a proxy war that's happening thousands of miles away. Um, the fact that he was kind of elected to be that unifying figure in our history. What we need right now is like, somebody to bridge the divide. The fact that he's not getting that done either might make him look bad or might make us look bad as a whole. Whereas we didn't really have that issue with Trump. Um, but he also got nothing done. He had really, some interesting ideas. He had terrible rhetoric, didn't know how to comport himself. But yeah, the economy was better. He also inherited a better economy.
So do you think Obama had something to do with that?
For sure. I mean, that definitely matters. But in the same world, Biden inherited a really shit sandwich of an economy. It wasn't bad, but it was like, all right, we're in the middle of COVID. It's basically what it comes down to. It's the C word. You could bleep
Yeah,
that
yeah, the
out in,
bug.
in post production if you want, but it's the C word.
Yeah.
That happened, and that was enough that from there on, Biden probably started making some really bad, policy decisions. But he's a populist at the end of the day, and it shows in the decision making. But I don't know, man. Cut and take.
Yeah.
What else you want to talk about with Biden?
I think he's delusional. I think he needs help. I think it's they're abusing him. It's old people abuse. Um, at some point you have to see that he's not in a good state of mind to lead a country, and those that are they're looking at that instead of I don't fucking know, dude. I'm not putting that part on. You know what?
What part?
The part about he's delusional, he has dementia, he needs help.
Well, say what's on your
They should
chest
get.
then. Say what you mean and mean what you say.
That's it. That's all I want to say.
Then put it up there.
Nah, I'm taking that shit off. They're abusing the old man.
Do you think his age matters?
It's not his age, it's his freaking mind. His mind is done. He says things that make no sense. Sometimes he doesn't even know where he's at. He has like his probably like someone like a little chaperone just walking him around. It's like it's all fucked up.
Think our partners abroad are looking at us that way? Like, damn, yo, like, who's in charge over there? Do you think they know
No,
who's in charge?
they probably know who's in charge, and they're just doing the same bullshit. Whoever's in charge is just pulling the same moves, doing the same bullshit, and that's it.
Do you think this will de-escalate if Trump becomes president?
What would de-escalate?
Well, A,
The
world
war.
tensions, but B, will people will we regain some semblance of respect as a nation state?
Yeah, I think so. I think that if he wins, we will definitely gain on some respect. It's kind of weird because when he was the president, a lot of countries disliked him because of his commentary, right? But then again, once he, you know, was not reelected, there's a whole bunch of, I guess, regret that he didn't win. And this is not coming from me. This is just coming from just people that I interact with, people that I meet, videos that I've watched, news articles, where it's just the same topic about, hey, we would have been better off with Trump versus Biden. And there's like so many videos on YouTube, right, where Biden's basically like lost. he like he mentions things that have nothing to do with the topic that's on hand, and it makes us look bad. And not only that, he's not being tough on other countries. Foreign policy is going down the drain. China's doing whatever they want to do, and so is Russia. This whole BRICS thing, and the alliance that's happening with other countries. They're trying to like, in a way, affect our economy. It's just messing us up, and it just it's kind of like hypocrisy if you think about it, because it was like, hey, you guys didn't want Trump, now you have Biden, and now you guys think that we've been better off with Trump. And what I see happening is that if he does win, they're gonna do the same shit over again. Yeah, we're gonna probably be a little bit more respected in the world, right, in the globe as a whole. But of course, he's always going to be like, you're going to see in all the news channels people like, talking about Trump, and he just said this and he said that, and his radical viewpoints and whatever he says. Like, if you notice right now in the news, like the main topic is Trump, but prior to that, it was like the Ukrainian war or the bug. It was never about the president, right?
Well, because at a
It would,
certain point, it became almost unfashionable to be talking about Trump. Ironically, in the post-Trump derangement syndrome kind of era in
yeah,
news, you know, up until recently, I can't even say that. I feel like there was still a lot of news agencies that still kind of made their payroll just by mentioning Trump.
yeah.
Um,
But remember when he got banned on all social media platforms, well, the majority of them, and then he started his own little platform. There was a point where he wasn't mentioned a lot in the news media platforms. He was
but
just,
I don't think there's any denying it. Even I mean, he's good for business. He's good for
yeah,
business. If you mention Trump, you're gonna get news ratings. And so I see him again, like sucking up a lot of the oxygen in the room, whether it's a good idea or not. What I am interested in is how much of a factor like age is going to play um, into the next like
age,
yeah age, because either way, they're both going to be the oldest people to ever become president.
yeah,
So one way to look at it is, hey, both of these guys are really too old to be doing the job. In which case, maybe age plays a higher factor in the way people vote, and they end up. I mean, I don't know if there's a how much of a market there's going to be for like an independent, a third party candidate, but will age be enough of a factor to swing
no, I don't think so.
significant amount of
For
people?
Biden, yes, for sure.
What?
For Biden, I think though, I mean, at this point, he's not even thinking right. So
Right. I mean, you could say like mental cognition or just cognition in general um, is going to play a very big role, but I don't necessarily know that. Like, I want to know what factor in specific is going to matter more. Um, but yeah, something's going to have to give. I can see this playing out where the age plays just enough, or the age, or cognition. But I mean, like pretty much anybody under the age of 70 is going to sound significantly more put together in between the ears than these two octogenarians. But I still would be curious to see how much age is enough to pull votes away from the old people towards maybe a younger set of candidates. I'd be interested to see some data
Yeah.
post November so that we can see, you know, how much it matters. I know I don't want to like vote for either of them. I really don't. Primarily because they're old, regardless of their politics aside. Politics aside, policy aside, you are not going to be around to make the decisions that are going to affect me.
Yeah, I
And the
agree.
world is in a very sensitive, it's a very fluid situation right now, and shit could go left real fast.
How old is Putin?
He's also pushing 80.
Oh wow.
But that's the problem. We got a bunch of angry old, men that are really late for their prune juice with their fingers on buttons that they probably shouldn't be anywhere near.
Yeah.
So for me, it's definitely going to play a role in how I vote this year, probably. It's just looking at, hey, who's younger? Who's actually going to be around to live through some of the decisions that they plan on carrying out?
Damn, do you see like because of their age, you see that something might happen with them?
It's a liability.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, so,
I mean, they keep mentioning Biden's in good health.
yeah, but like, let's put the
So
shoe on the other foot. So let's talk like Putin, right? So just to help illustrate the point, Putin is right now a wartime president. If Putin dies, who fills his place? Are they going to be more of a war hawk or are they going to be more of a dove? Are they going to continue this agenda with Ukraine? Does everybody believe in that or are they going to, back down? Are we going to get somebody worse than Putin? Don't know. In the same way, you flip that dynamic around. Biden dies, but how is Kamala Harris on foreign policy? The world stage is
yeah,
going to wonder. And at a time where things are very volatile, you want as much stability as you can. So, not rocking the boat is kind of a priority. And if you think that whoever you are voting in to be the leader of the free world, their age might come into consideration and they might suffer from, an unfortunate early demise in the middle of a conflict that they haven't resolved. It's kind of an issue. Nobody wants a change of regime that quickly.
yep,
I'd rather have people that I can depend upon, at least for the next 4 years, who I know are not going to be around, who are of solid, mind, sound mind, to make some rational decisions that they're also going to be around to live through. I don't need anybody dying for glory right now. Like the rest of us kind of want to live, so I'm worried nonetheless.